This video may not be for everyone. Most of my videos are for men, and this one definitely is. So if that demographic isn't you, please click away now. You have been warned. And if you've never heard of this, you may think the subject is inherently ridiculous, but it's something that's often discussed in male self-improvement circles, and as someone with a self-improvement channel whose audience is largely male, it's something that I'm going to address here also. NoFAP is the increasingly popular movement of avoiding porn and masturbation. And there aren't many scientific studies that have been commissioned to investigate their claims, so most of this is coming from anecdotal experience being shared in various internet forums. And there are a lot of incredible claims that seem unbelievable, which people rightly should approach with caution. We can talk more about those later. But I think avoiding masturbation is just the tip of the iceberg. What's more important is the avoidance of pornography, which is proven to wreck your brain's dopamine reward centers and generally reduce your enjoyment of sex, as well as distorting your expectations and perceptions of sex. It's not even unusual for young men to suffer from erectile dysfunction due to overconsumption of porn, with some studies showing that as much as 30% of young men are suffering from it, which is certainly a new phenomenon. In days past, it never used to be the case that a significant portion of young men were masturbating so much to the point that they couldn't even get or maintain an erection. But even beyond that, to be successful at NoFAP, you have to be able to develop and refocus your energy, to rechannel your sexual energy into productive non-sexual pursuits. And there are a whole bunch of Taoist Qigong and Tantric Pranayama practices which are meant to help cultivate this. But most of all, the thing that you need to do in order to have that focus is to give up fantasy and to give up fear and to just live fully in the present moment. If none of the other claims are true, then even this is a game changer. If it's not the abstinence from masturbation that directly produces these changes, it's becoming the sort of person you have to become in order to successfully manage to abstain, which leads to a whole bunch of positive effects in life. For many men, masturbation isn't just a way of getting rid of excess sexual desire, but a way of distracting themselves from the pain they feel in other areas of life. Addictions are never solved in isolation. And it is an addiction for many men, one that placates their natural desire to attract women, to better improve themselves, and then go out and actually talk to women. And instead, it leaves them as a sedated version of themselves sat at home. NoFAP proponents argue that excessive pornography use and masturbation can desensitize individuals, making it difficult for them to establish and maintain satisfying sexual relationships. They claim that abstaining from these activities can help individuals rediscover genuine intimacy and improve their emotional connections with other people. There's also a tight association between pornography and masturbation with shame, guilt, and low self-esteem. And it's not just from societal pressures shaming men for masturbating. I think people instinctually know that they are only doing this because they can't go out into the real world and get their needs fulfilled. And that acknowledgement, this consciousness of the gap between what I want and what I can get, leads to feelings of shame and low self-esteem. By abstaining from these behaviors, some people experience an increase in self-confidence, improved social skills, and a reduction in social anxiety. Some other claims of the movement include increased energy, motivation, and focus from redirecting sexual energy towards other productive activities. But again, is that from abstaining from the masturbation or from becoming someone who can abstain from masturbation? Or is it the increase in tenacity and endurance from doing something that's difficult? And does it really matter as long as people are getting the benefits? One of the more interesting claims of the NoFAP movement is around attraction. You can read many stories of guys finding that girls are suddenly paying them much more attention. Some have guessed that there may be some kind of pheromone change or something else that affects things on some unconscious, primal level. And while there's no science on this to say one way or the other, in my own experience and the experience of others that I've spoken to on this, they notice the same thing. I've experienced women behaving much more sexually open to me when I'm on NoFAP than when I'm not. And I don't know exactly why this happens. Maybe it's not even an increase in attention from women, but a change in how much I notice and how much I react and how I react to it. In any case, I'm not sure it matters. Noticing yourself being more attracted to the opposite sex is never a bad thing, regardless of how it happens. So far, I've been cautiously positive of the movement, but I do have some criticisms of it. The most negative part of this is the obsession with streaks. That is, the number of days gone without porn or masturbation, and long discussions of what does and doesn't constitute breaking a streak. And this is just unhelpful. Making someone feel guilty about falling into old habits is not going to help them escape from them. And there are members of these forums who do encourage men not to beat themselves up over it, and that's not meant to be a euphemism. But simply engaging less in a negative habit is still progress. If you go from once a day to once a week to once a month, that's still progress. It doesn't really matter that much that you broke your streak. Streaks may be a useful metric of success, but your sense of self-worth shouldn't be tied to it, and it shouldn't be a badge of honor. Additionally, some of the claims are just weird, and I do think they put more people off the movement than bring in. Some people really make NoFAP their identity, and it really shouldn't be. It's just one marker in a whole array of things someone should be considering and doing to improve their life. My own life is far better when I'm far away from negative vices, including porn and masturbation. I was one of those people who used it from the time I was a teenager to get away from stress and emotional pain in my life. And that's not an uncommon experience of man. And I took dealing with those emotional pains in order for me to not need an addiction to distract me from it anymore. But if you try to get rid of the crutch you've been using to not deal with those issues, then all of a sudden you're going to be facing those unresolved issues without any filter and without anything to numb or distract you from the pain. Maybe that's a good thing. But moreover, going on this journey of healing means that I've now integrated my sex drive. I used to think of it as an annoying distraction, but now I realize it's part of me, not something to be gotten rid of. Men make dumb decisions when horny, and one way of getting around this is to get rid of the horniness for a short period of time. But the other way is to accept the horniness as part of who you are and learn to think and live with it and through it. At the end of the day, you have to choose what's best for your life. If something is easy for you, then maybe you don't need to try it. But if it is a challenge, then maybe it's an avenue worth trying, and then you can form your own opinion on it. Thank you very much for listening.